The whole idea of this session is to show you best practices and tips that you can take away and then implement into your assembly so that it can be more effective. Um, so the assembly that we're going to be working with is this forklift. Whenever we start creating an assembly, the first thing that you have to think of is what will be the fixed component. On every assembly, you have a fixed component that everything sort of mates to that. Think of it as, let's say you have a car. Maybe you can mate everything to the chassis. If you have an airplane, you would mate everything to the fuselage. If you have an engine, you would mate everything to the engine block. So thinking of the first component that you're adding and that you're fixing and attaching everything to that, it's really important. The reason that I pick that red component that you see there is because this assembly will actually pivot on that axis. So it sort of makes sense to make that the first component and actually fix it. The other thing to look at on this assembly is that if we look at the top and bottom views of that assembly, you can see that it's symmetric. So we can also use tools like symmetry just to make our lives a bit easier for that. So let me open the assembly. It's this one right here. So you can see there's a few things that we need to finish. But let's start creating that fork. The way that I'm going to do that, I'm just going to go to File. I'm going to create a new assembly. Let me pick my templates. And let me look for that file. So let me look for that axis. I have this in their own folder, and this will be my first component. Now, the last thing that you want to do is randomly click on the screen. The reason for that is if we actually look at the origins, if you click on the screen, what will happen is that, I'll click here. What will happen is that it will place it exactly where I clicked. And that's the last thing that you want to do, because now remember that we wanted to use symmetry. So now the actual right plane of my assembly is actually offset from my part. So it's not really going to help us. We'll fix it in a second. But one thing to remember is that the first component that you add to the assembly will be fixed by default, and it's intended. One thing that you'll note is that the fixed component has a little F next to it, and it's just telling you that it's fixed. Let's say that for some reason you wanna move that component. If I actually try move it, it won't let me. So let me right click on it, and I can say floats, and yeah, okay, I can move it. That's fine. Let's say that I wanted to bring it back to the actual origin. One of the simplest way that you could do that is just by going to the mates command. I can select both origins. Let's say that one and that one. And notice that there's an option there to align the axes. So let's say, yes, I actually want that. And now it's again fixed, but notice that I don't see an F next to it. And basically, when you see an F, it's because it's fixed by SOLIDWORKS or you fixed it. And if you don't see anything in front of it, it just means that it's fixed by the mates. And when components can actually move, let's say if we delete that mate, you will see that there's a minus in front of it, just telling you that the actual component can move. Now, to avoid this whole thing, instead of clicking on the screen, the best option is just do something slightly different. I'm going to delete this. I'm going to bring that again. And instead of clicking on the actual screen, I'm just going to click on the green tick. So if you click on the green tick, I don't need to go through the hassle of floating the component and then mating it in place. It will just do it automatically for me, and it will basically align the origins for me.